This ain't no disco.
Ain't no country club neither.
This is RVA. Welcome back, everybody,
To another awesome episode of
Oh La La in RVA, Season 3.
Episode 6. So today we have an awesome guest, Rabbi Patrick. We are also going to have a little Richmond Rose and Thorn discussion.
Yes, and we also will be talking about some businesses in Richmond we want to highlight, specifically the new amphitheater.
And also Boku and also the new bakery affiliated with them, as well as Grisette and Jardin Petit Four that just opened. So
Cool, and Big Daddy will be dropping it on us.
And on this episode, I'm talking about Richmond's favorite time of the year, and that is springtime with its allergies and pollen.
I love it. My car was green today.
I know, I'm just giving up on washing mine. Figured it'll rain eventually.
I get a car wash like every other day.
I know, I just commented, you are like always in the car wash.
I got time on my hands. What can I say?
All right, so we got some events as well,
Yeah.
Yes, they're tied into the amphitheater. Mine
right.
are, at least.
and we have our business of the week.
Let's go. All right.
Shall I introduce
yes,
our
introduce
guest?
our guest, please.
So today we are excited to welcome Rabbi Patrick Bueller. I know you just said it. What is it? How do you pronounce the last name again?
So I'll show you how to do it. So say your bowl. Now say it backwards.
Bowyer.
There you go.
Bollier. Okay, cool. He is the spiritual leader behind Kehillah RVA, Richmond's independent, progressive Jewish community. Rabbi Patrick isn't your traditional rabbi. His journey into Judaism started in his 20s after a past life as a punk rock musician. How very Richmond is that? He's all about making Jewish life accessible, inclusive, and maybe even a little rock and roll. Kehillah RVA is a thriving, non-traditional Jewish community that welcomes people from all backgrounds, interfaith families, LGBTQ plus folks, or anyone just looking for a meaningful connection without the pressure of membership dues or rigid traditions. We're diving into what it means to create an inclusive spiritual community, his take on modern Jewish identity, and maybe even some wild stories from his punk rock days. So grab your wine or whatever you're vibing with, and let's get into it.
Yay. Welcome.
Welcome. We're
Welcome to the
Patrick.
show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. They gave me this drink called Surfside, and it's pretty awesome. So
Yes.
you know,
big fan.
loose lips. This will be a fun show.
Iced tea and vodka for anyone who hasn't tried it.
Yes, we're pretending we're golfing, I guess. I don't know. Well, let's kick it off, a little icebreaker. We're going to talk about some Richmond Rose and Thorns right now. Olivia, what's yours?
Okay, so I'm sure if you've been listening in on the podcast, you know that I've been doing kickboxing with MJ, the founder of RVA Kicks. I've been doing this for like 4 weeks now, and I've officially reached a milestone. I'm no longer completely dead after class, so I've leveled up to twice a week. And the goal is to get to 3 times a week, and it's going to happen soon, but my arms hurt so bad today.
Yay.
So, but I'm feeling toned, and things are starting to progress.
And you can kick anyone's ass.
Yes, I can. Poor Craig. I've been beating up my boyfriend, like playfully.
I want to see you get into a fight with him.
We were almost there last weekend.
Oh man.
I was a witness. No.
Anyway, love you, Craig. But anyway, Thorn. So in my journey to weight loss, I've discovered that I've been accidentally overeating despite being on Weight Watchers. And it turns out when you love restaurants like I do and you live in Richmond, portion sizes are really hard to navigate. And also, speaking of betrayals, did you know that, that a half cup of uncooked quinoa is not the same as a half cup of cooked quinoa?
I did not know that.
It doubles the calories, and I've been doing it for a month. So
Wow.
Yikes.
I feel victimized by the grain.
At least it's nutritious.
I guess, yeah, it is new. It's not the worst thing you could be eating, but I'm
Better
definitely
than candy.
true. Never been a candy eater though, but it's all a learning process.
It's all about balance.
Matt,
Well, my Richmond Rose and Thorn has to do more with some city developments. And I'm talking about, well, you know, not too long ago, we had a vote on the casino. And so Richmond has purchased the former casino site in South Richmond for a new park and development. And so that'll be a total area of 96 acres, and it's next to Walmsley Boulevard. So that's always good when there's new green space.
Yeah.
cool.
And so my thorn is Dominion is seeking to raise rates by almost 14%.
Oh, wow.
What?
And so apparently they haven't raised rates since 1992.
1992.
And
There's a techno song we're obsessed with called 1992.
Oh, nice.
it's
The
by
video's
no
amazing.
format. And so if you pay the average bill of $140, that's about $20 added to your bill.
Oh,
So,
I already
yeah.
we had the
was-
highest
yeah.
bill 2 in a row. No,
Me
I can't take
too.
much more.
And so I hope they deny the raise in the rates.
Me too.
That's not fair.
Well, my rose is 311 actually works. Yay. If you call like multiple times and harass them, that is.
I was hoping you were saying that the band 311 actually works.
That's
like,
what I
they
thought.
actually like have a job and do things and are productive citizens and you
They
know
might.
maybe owns a
Jury's still
Chipotle
out on
or
that
something. I
one.
don't
Jury's
know.
still out on that one. But amber is the color of their energy, so I don't know what that is. I feel like that equals laying around, lounging a lot, not doing much. I don't know. But no, this is 311 calling to get stuff fixed, complain about stuff in Richmond, DPU kind of stuff. My thorn, though, is we have a lot of roundabouts around here now. True. Which are supposed to be good things, I'm told.
Traffic commerce.
Yes. Well, some people need to learn what a traffic circle is and how you navigate one. Still,
Craig.
the last week, I've had so many people enter the traffic circle and then just stop.
What?
And they're looking at me
Yeah,
go ahead. And I'm like, you're the one already in the traffic circle.
Yeah, you have the right of way.
I don't understand this. And then when I start to go in, it's like they move forward and they're going to T-bone me. So anyway,
Yeah, I don't know.
what's up with that?
Yeah, don't know. Can't help you with that. Outside my wheelhouse.
All right, Rabbi Patrick, what is your rose and thorn?
Rose is the growth of Midlothian. And particularly when you go sort of past Brander Mill and you're making your way out towards Powhatan and all of that. So, I always thought that over by Trader Joe's and all of that in Bon Air, that was going to become the thing. Although I have it on good authority that Sephora is opening up there.
Yeah, they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is, I've heard the buzz about that one. But I tell you, Brander Mill, Bon Air itself, I thought was going to be just hipster USA.
Right.
And it's like the
No.
little engine that don't.
No.
It just has no interest, right? And I think
So
that
cute, too.
I love it there.
I think there are still signs up that say vote for McGovern. I mean,
I know.
really, it's kind of, so instead of that, though, you go out past Brander Mill and suddenly you have all of this new development. You have new houses for all the people who want to live here, cooler stuff, new bars, new restaurants. So I'm really pumped about that. That's definitely my rose.
Yes. And your thorn?
Oh gosh, my thorn. I don't know. I think my thorn is that along with all of the growth out there, there's also a little bit more of a sense of entitlement. I've just noticed that I feel really lucky. I think we have good customer service out where I live. Like just people in like the banks and the, like dry cleaners, whatever, all like pretty good people. But you can tell how tortured they are by their customers. Because if you're even remotely nice to them, they're like, who is this mysterious man?
Right. That's so true. Yeah.
And I feel like I'm not trying too hard. I think I'm just being a normal person, but they're just like, thank you for saving me. So I think my thorn is like, can we just be nice to the people who cook your food and take care of your kids and all that stuff?
Yes.
And they're humans.
Yeah, believe it or not.
DoorDash delivery person.
Oh God, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So do you live out that way?
I do. I live in Brander Mill.
Oh, okay.
Been there since 2020, been in Richmond since 2016.
Oh, okay. Nice.
You answered my first question.
I didn't mean to do that.
I still have to ask it.
Okay.
Just tack a question on at the end, right?
I know,
You
right?
get the
We'll
last
circle
word.
back around. Yeah. No, it's funny because I worked for Virginia Ear, Nose, and Throat for like 16 years, and their office was on Wadsworth. And then April 1st, 3 days ago, they announced they're opening a new practice. They're moving the Midlothian practice out there.
Oh, I'd believe it.
To where like Richmond Gastro and a couple other places are opening up one. So that's pretty cool that they're going out there because I feel like, unfortunately, that area like near Chippenham and stuff on Midlothian, it's kind of getting a little
That's
run down.
another one too.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of feel like that area should be filled with like housing and like cool ethnic restaurants and all of that stuff. And it is such a Richmond thing. It's like Richmond is just kind of allergic in certain areas.
I know, that's why we feel like we can't leave the city.
They do it on purpose.
I know, I'm like, I'm staying here. But anyway, let's get into your story now that we know what, Olivia?
Well, my question always first is, are you from Richmond? If not, what brought you here? So what brought you to Richmond?
What brought me to Richmond? So originally from Atlanta, lived a bunch of different places. As a kid, my parents were in the hotel, restaurant, nightclub business. So I kind of thought that was what I was going to do. That is very much not what I did. I thought I was going to become a famous punk rocker. That also did not work out very well. Skipping past, over a decade of life, I wind up a rabbi and never thought I wanted to do the kind of work that I do now. And it just so happened that a very dear friend and mentor of mine lived here. My wife and I would come visit him here, and he passed away. So Rabbi Ben Romer of blessed memory. And we came up, I officiated his funeral. 90 days later, we moved here.
Wow.
Yeah. We were looking for a change. We wanted to leave Atlanta. A great place to be young. It was a great place to be in music. But just, sometimes you got to do the next thing. And so we moved up here, and I've been doing rabbi stuff up here since 2016.
Nice. So when did you actually become a rabbi, and how did you get... I know I read your bio. So originally you had like a bachelor's of the arts or whatever. So how did you fall from that into becoming a rabbi?
Yeah. So I converted to Judaism in my early 20s. I was raised in a non-religious, non-Jewish household. And sort of in this fluctuating time between ending the punk rock and beginning whatever the next thing was going to be, there was this thing that happened, and it was called YouTube. You may have heard of it before.
I think so.
Yeah. So I was living with a very good friend of mine, Justin Kerfman from the band Feeding Fingers, and I started making YouTube videos about Judaism. I got to be friends with all of these sort of ex-punk rockers who were all watching my YouTube videos. And that turned into, well, why don't you start a Jewish nonprofit out of this? And the joke was, I'm the perfect person to start a nonprofit because I've been in bands. I'm awesome at not making a profit.
I love that.
Hey, there's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah, without a doubt.
There's no money in bands.
None. There's money to be made in music doing everything except the actual music.
Yes, become a producer, children listening. Become a producer.
A songwriter, a famous artist.
Print the T-shirts, like anything except that. The bartenders made more money than I ever did. which is fine. But so sort of fell into Jewish education, decided if I'm going to really do this, I need to commit to it. Lots of different ways you can become a rabbi. The path that I took is something called private smicha, which means like private ordination. So I didn't go to yeshiva or seminary. I studied privately with other rabbis and was eventually ordained.
Oh, but how did you get to Judaism, I guess? Yes.
There you go, the prequel.
The root of it.
Yeah. That's what we're dying to know.
I need your origin story.
There you go.
But I feel like that's a very unique experience to, at least I don't know anyone who's converted to Judaism in their 20s.
Yeah, about 5 to 15% of us, depending on who's doing the math. So I think on some level it was the influence of my parents, because being in the food and beverage business, my dad's real religion was hospitality. My late father, Art Bollier of blessed memory. Huh. And so there was something about that I think opened a door on some level. The truth of the matter, though, is when I look at Judaism, it's really unique because it's not a religion, because you can not be religious and be Jewish. It's a peoplehood, but it's not a race or an ethnicity. We have the state of Israel, but we're not a country because we live everywhere, right? We're certainly not a race. So it's this other thing. And that other thingness is very compelling to me. So I tell people it's a combination of two things. It's the universal, meaning that my Judaism does not negate anyone else's Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, or any kind of otherism, Jedi, whatever you're into, right? But here's the thing. In the Western world, we have cafeteria religion. You know, you're kind of like a Buddhist sometimes, and then you do yoga, so you're kind of Hindu when you say Om, but then it's also Christmas, so like, right? But then you're reading this awesome book by, you know, Brene Brown or whatever, right? And that's all great. I am a, you know, liberal, lowercase d Democrat in every way. The Western world offers a better package of things than anywhere else does. But what happens when someone dies? What are you supposed to do? What happens when a baby is born? How do you acknowledge that in some way beyond like, all right, everybody, here's the link to buy me stuff, right?
Yeah.
How do you talk to a friend who's suffering beyond like, well, I know Andrew Huberman did a podcast episode about what, you know, and so what Judaism says is, okay, we're all about the universal stuff. We're great with that. But here's what we're going to offer you. Language, history, text, philosophy, spirituality, mysticism, and it's going to be at the exclusion of all that other stuff. Right? This is kind of the car we drive, but we drive on the same road as everybody else. And so that universal and that particular is like a beautiful marriage. And that marriage keeps it all together.
I like that.
Yeah.
So eloquent.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
That's why they pay me the medium bucks.
So Kehillah RVA is all about inclusivity and accessibility. How did your personal experiences shape that vision?
You know, when I was living in Atlanta, I noticed that, boy, there's a lot of beautiful Jewish buildings. And there's a lot of pews, right? And there's a lot of not people in those pews.
Right.
And so I started to ask myself, you know, this stuff that I'm hearing in synagogue every week, these things I'm learning from my teachers, whether formally or informally, this is like the big stuff. This is what's the point of all of this? Why is there something instead of nothing? This is huge. This is way more than I'm going to get, you know, out of going to the movies or even the best concert I've ever been to in my life, right? So why does no one notice that? Like, do we need a new marketing guy for Judaism? Like, what? Do we need to fire whoever's in charge of that now? And growing up with parents who were in some form of hospitality, entertainment, whatever, I knew that the way you do that is you hustle your ass off. Like you stand on the corner, pre-internet, you stand on the corner with the flyers and you hand those club flyers out until your arm hurts, right? You get on your phone and you call every friend, hey, this is a thing we've got going on. This is, whatever. And always being around artists, musicians, performers, entrepreneurs, right? That just made me realize, like, we need to put that kind of hustle into it. And maybe that means that the building is still going to be half empty, but maybe there's this other thing we can do. Maybe we can do it somewhere else, and maybe we can do it in some other way. And that's not to say that all the things that we did beforehand were bad. It doesn't mean we stopped doing it. It just means you adjust, right? So going back to the marketing metaphor, it's like being part of God's marketing department.
Right. That's a great way of putting it.
And I think that that's actually a very compassionate thing to do. It's not sort of poo-pooing the past, right? If I thought that the past had nothing to offer, I wouldn't have become a rabbi, because it's all old stuff. That's all it is. It's thousands of years old. But it's also
modernizing it, or
I don't know if it's so much modernizing it, because the thing is, do you know that the root word for radical is connected to the same word for radish? Meaning it's the thing that's underground, right? It's the thing that's the root, right? And if you just get to the root of it and you kind of ignore all the stuff that really doesn't matter that much, you get to something that's incredibly fulfilling. So like one of my favorite examples, one of my rabbis, Rabbi Bill Curry, again of blessed memory, apparently I'm bringing up lots of late people today. He said to me, in this like really thick New Jersey accent that I'm not going to try to replicate.
I was like, oh, we're going to get a little impersonation.
I'm totally not going to.
Jersey Shore.
He would haunt me in my sleep. He said, Patrick, no one gives a damn what you think about the upcoming Torah portion. Like, that's not what Americans are in it for. But you better be really good at officiating a wedding. You better nail it every time you have a funeral, because that's the time. It's those big moments when people suddenly, you have that relative who never goes to mass, but then the wedding happens and it's like, oh, super Catholic, right? Yep. Or insert religion, insert life cycle, right?
Yes.
I even have some friends who, not Jewish, not religious, not anything, who texted me and said, you know how they like baptize babies? And I said, sure. And he said, we kind of want to do something like that for our kid, but like we're not religious and we're not Jewish. And I was like, okay, well, we don't baptize babies, so I guess I got you covered there. And it's like, yeah. He was like, yeah, we're just trying to figure out a thing. And I said, yeah, because human beings need those things. Like you need
something
thing.
To commemorate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's something that is precious and wonderful about the human experience. And it's not brought to you by Netflix. Like it's something that's much deeper and more meaningful.
And it's something that connects us all as human beings. And I think definitely in this climate, we've all forgotten how we're
all connected. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's
absolutely.
so true.
So for people out there who know nothing about Judaism, can you kind of just give us a quick,
a synopsis,
an overview?
Well, like kind of just the basic tenets and how.
What, my beautiful metaphor about the wonderful marriage wasn't enough?
I know. Well,
we
just
can't
a
skip to
bit
what's
more,
your
just a
favorite
little bit
nightclub.
more.
Like,
I know.
We will ask about that.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry I interrupted you. So.
No. Just give us the highlights.
The highlights.
And the lowlights.
On this week's episode of Judaism.
Yes. And how, Kehillah, like, is a little bit different. I think we get that. But just, I don't know. I want people to know more, like, what we're talking about, the difference. How this could appeal more to someone searching for something.
Yeah. So there's this travel expert, and I forget his name, Jewish guy coincidentally, and he was asked on one of these like morning radio shows or TV shows, where's the best place to travel to, right? Like, how to get all the best points and the best seats and the blah, 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 but where's the best place to go? And he said, that's the wrong question. And, there was sort of a pause, and he said, the real thing is the best journey you can go on is with someone you love. And, everyone goes, oh, okay. And on our next segment, dogs that can make pizza, or like whatever. But I tell you, he's right. And like human life is a journey. And so let's do that with people we love. And so in a time now where people don't feel connected to community, we're in the business of, being on this wonderful journey called life together and working it out as we go along. The Jewish people have been around for thousands of years. We've changed a lot from our origin story in the Middle East to where we are today. If someone was to ask me, what is Judaism? I would say that it is the universal religion of a particular people. Okay. And that's not a Rabbi Patrick quote. That comes from a very famous rabbi named Kaufman Kohler. But it's a universal religion, again, like back to what I was talking about. It's something that is open to the world, but it is of a particular people. And as an adoptive parent, having had time to think about it this way, becoming Jewish or being part of the Jewish experience is part of a family life. And so for some of us, that actually literally means a family you're born into. And it's kind of like the mafia. You can't escape it once you're in it. And then, for some of us, it's people like me who are, air quotes, adopted into the Jewish peoplehood, which is conversion in a Western mindset, right? Changing religions. But that's what it is. It's this very dynamic peoplehood that changes over time to meet the needs of the human experience.
And I have a question because I was brought up in Catholicism, but I know in Christianity there's the Catholics and the Protestants, and then there's an umbrella of different Protestant denominations.
Sure.
In Judaism, is that kind of similar, or is it just Judaism? Is there any splits? Are there any denominations?
2 Jews, 10 opinions. That shouldn't be the way it goes. So we have movements. The thing about Judaism, though, is that the differences have more to do with the application of Jewish law than they do anything else. So I have Protestant friends, and I'll ask them, like, what's the difference between a Methodist and a Lutheran? And they'll get into all this, like, complicated theological stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but what's the difference? And it's a similar thing in Judaism where, broadly speaking, there's 2 camps. One is orthodoxy and one is everybody else. Okay. And then within those 2 camps, you're going to have countless different versions and permutations and whatever. The fastest growing movement in Judaism in America is independent, meaning that you don't necessarily feel a belonging to one movement or another. That's what my congregation is. We're independent. And so that's where some of that is. I can sit down with the most non-traditional theologically, spiritually rabbi and the most traditional. They'll actually agree on more things than you would think. It's just that application of Jewish law, which is something that non-Jews often struggle with, of like, law? Like, you have laws? What is that all about? And so I think that's probably a quirky thing for us, is that we're a law-based religion.
That's really neat. I like learning about this.
Me too. What would a typical service be like at your congregation?
So it depends on what you're coming for. So in Judaism, there's roughly 3 prayer services, morning, afternoon, and evening. Then there's Shabbat, the Sabbath, starts Friday night, ends Saturday night. And then you have all of the different holidays we have. In the Jewish calendar, we have a holiday every single month except for 1 month out of the year. Okay. And even then, the holiest day in Judaism is actually the Sabbath. It's Friday night through Saturday. So what does that look like? It just depends on what we're doing. So tomorrow we're doing a Shabbat dinner in one of our congregants' homes. It's a pizza party. I'm very excited about that. Nice. I don't eat carbs very often, so this is a nice little treat for me.
Yeah. I feel you.
Welcome to middle age in my case. So we'll have that. We just had a holiday called Purim, which is a little bit like a Jewish version of Mardi Gras.
Oh, okay.
And so we had 2 events on Purim evening. So one was a little early, and it was a kids thing. And the kids got to have like cookies and pizza and soda and stuff like that. And we did a reading, sort of not really a reading, but like a performance of the Book of Esther. And it's this interactive thing where people boo at you. It's like it's a real quirky thing. Yeah, that's like a whole episode in itself. But so we did that. People dress in costumes. It's kind of a fun thing. And then immediately after that was, because of the way Purim landed this year, it was also the start of Shabbat, the Sabbath. So we all then rushed home and we had Shabbat at my wife and I's home.
So do you, in the community in Kehillah, do you put on Shabbat every week at different people's houses in the community?
It depends month to month. So like this month, we're starting Passover. So we're going to do Passover Seders for the first 2 nights in our home. We're not going to do a Shabbat thing because that's like doing Passover is an endeavor. So we're going to sort of take a little bit of a break. But we try to do something, usually every other week, and we'll do 2 things in that week. So it'll be an adult education class. It'll be a thing for kids. It'll be Shabbat. It'll be a holiday thing if the holidays land the way they do. So something like that. And it's going to be either in a private home or in some kind of cool public place.
Sounds like a really tight-knit community too. That's cool. How many people are in the community?
So we don't count membership. We have no membership model whatsoever. Okay. So I don't have a good answer for that. 1,200 people on the email list, a few hundred, depending on the social media count. I got off of Facebook, so I think our Facebook maybe has fallen a little bit, but our Instagram has grown. So
that's where things are.
Everyone's leaving.
Yeah.
So do you all go to, forgive me if I don't know the correct terminology, but do you all go to synagogue together?
So synagogue
or temple
is, synagogue and temple are kind of interchangeable. This is another one of those Orthodox and not Orthodox terminology things. So a lot of times people will say, well, you're not a synagogue. And we would actually say we are a synagogue because any place where we are, that is where the synagogue is. Do we own our own building? No, because we made a very intentional choice. This is what I love about your podcast, where you're always getting to the intentionality of these organizations and these business owners. We could have built a building, and then we would have had to charge membership because you have to pay for a building somehow.
Right.
And then we would have had to count members, and that would have been about how many people are registered. I was once a member of a synagogue where their bylaws required that if you didn't come anymore, you had to formally leave the congregation in writing. And I was like, ouch, okay, that's real. Could you imagine breaking up with someone and you have to like submit a letter of intent? No.
I think I've done that before.
Maybe in the era of texting.
She's like, can you proofread this letter for me?
ChatGPT.
I was about to say, ChatGPT breaks up for people now. Have you heard this thing now, speaking of ChatGPT, where AI is now being incorporated into dating apps? So like your dating app, or not app, your dating profile and someone else's dating profile can go on a date and then report back.
Oh, that is insane.
That's actually kind of cool.
Frightening.
I gotta think that's fascinating.
No one will ever know anyone ever again.
So now it just represents you, and
I've been married for over a decade, so like this is not my wheelhouse. But I will say, every once in a while, the single people in my congregation will tell me things. I'm just like, I hug my wife double hard on those nights where I'm just like, thank you.
I know.
Thank you for saving me from
It's rough out there. I'm glad
terrible.
I have Cruggy at the end of the day.
But to answer your actual question about synagogues, so instead of building a building, we built a community. And that allows us to be a community where the way that we're able to pay for all the things we do is basically twofold. One is we charge for things. If you want a wedding, if you want a funeral, if you want to come to an event, there's a price associated with that. Now, we do have a thing called Kehillah Cares, which is this awesome program we just started, and that will help people in different ways if they can't afford to participate, if they're members of our community. And then the second part is we just ask for donations. And, we just ask, hey, like, just $10 a month, just $15 a month, something. And if you have a good month, okay, throw a little something extra in there. And if it's not a good month, well, listen, if you give $5 a month, you are going to buy someone therapy, because that's one of the things that Kehillah Cares provides. So that combination of those two things, that's enough. That's enough. Like, we don't need... I had wallpaper installed today, and it made me grateful that I don't have to do this in a building with a leaky roof that I'm trying to convince people to show up at.
Right.
So I'm very fortunate.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh. So do you hold oh my goodness, I'm having a hard time remember the terminology.
That's okay.
What is it called?
Shabbat.
You hold Shabbat in people's homes too. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
People's
really
homes, public places. Yeah, it just really depends. We do a Shabbat morning Torah study, and we often do it at the lawn of the VMFA.
Oh, I was going to ask you about
that's
that.
neat.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so I've got a little wagon, and I just, bring the bagels and the coffee from Starbucks, and, we just hang out, put down some picnic blankets, and talk for 2 hours about whatever. We have a liturgical calendar, which is just a fancy way of saying that we start in the fall with reading the first book it's called a parsha, the first portion of the Torah, so the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible, books of Moses, and then we go all the way to the end with the end of Deuteronomy, and then we cycle all the way back through. So we read the Torah every single year as part of the Jewish tradition. And so on the Sabbath, on Shabbat, there is a Torah portion that lands for that week. So when we do a Torah study, we are studying that thing. And so sometimes that is on the lawn. Sometimes it's in the infamous tiki room in the back of my house. It just really depends.
When you do it in public spaces, do people ever, strangers ever wander over and listen in?
So funny story. At VMFA, right, on Saturdays around noon, everybody's the
there.
weather's beautiful. Yeah.
Drinking wine on the hill. Then.
Yeah, right. Those Stanley cups, turns out it's a little more than water in some of those. But one time we were kind of wrapping up, and these 2 young women, college age women, came up, and they had bags of bagels. And they said to us, hey, we just had a going away brunch for our friend, and we just saw you guys. Do you want our food? And Ray Tunis, who I hope is listening to this, immediately pipes up and says, Rabbi, convert them. We need people like that. So we have moments. I had a woman once who was walking her dog, and she was like, is this Kehillah? And I was like, yeah, did you not RSVP? Do you want to? She's like, no, I've been on your email list for 2 years and haven't come to anything, but I just saw you, and I was like, oh, that's the thing I wanted to go to. So that happens.
That's
too.
really cool.
It's like synchronicity. She walked right into it.
So we just talked about bagels. Are there any traditional Jewish food places that you like to go to, or have you been to Jufro?
So this is a great opportunity for all of those people to sponsor Kehillah before I give away, so I love all of them.
Yes.
So, all of them are great in their own way. Jufro, we actually did Passover with them last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
which was a lot of fun. It's funny because it's 2 stories, so I had to stand in the middle of the stairs to lead the Passover Seder. That's not how that works. And so I had to put the wine and the matzah and all of that basically against a window and scurry up and down in order to get all the things I needed. But yeah, they're great. Pearlie's, we've had a relationship with them for years, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Is there any other places? The only place I know about that's Jewish in Richmond is Jufro. Are there any other Jewish establishments?
So
Pearlie's, right?
Pearlie's,
Yeah.
that's the OG. And then we have Susie's, which just opened.
Oh, yeah.
So wonderful people there.
Where is Susie's?
They've been doing the pop-ups a lot at the Jasper, but they just got a storefront. I'm not sure. Where is
Over
it?
by Kava Club. We've been following each other on Facebook or Facebook and Instagram forever, but we haven't connected to do an event yet. So hopefully we'll do something with them.
This is a great opportunity for you guys to merge.
Yes.
I tell people all the time, you support the businesses that support you, because it's not popular to support Jews right now. It's just not. And so I'm really grateful. I've had LGBT congregants of mine say, the older ones say this is when I was younger, meaning when they were young and not out and the world looked different than it does now. But anyway, on to the fun stuff. Yeah, all of these places are great. More are going to open. And it's exciting to see the real renaissance in Jewish food that's going on.
Yes.
I love to see it.
Going back to some of your programs, though, which I think is so cool, what is HARP? And what does it do?
HARP is the Heroin Addiction Recovery Program, which is in the Chesterfield Jail. My buddy Sheriff Carl Leonard is the founder of that, and I have had the honor and privilege of going there and hanging out with some of the HARP members and the harpettes, which they call the female harp members.
Got to make it cute.
Yeah.
Cutesy.
Yeah. Wonderful people doing God's work. I come from a family where addiction was part of the story. And so getting to see any kind of innovation that we can do as far as helping people who need recovery. I mean, this is a model that needs to go out nationally. I can't say enough positive things about Sheriff Leonard. Yeah, he needs to be everywhere talking about what he does.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome that you can work with them that way.
They like me because I'll swear during Bible study. and I go down there whenever there's, you get asked this as part of being clergy. You get asked to do these chaplains calls. So you go to the hospitals and the jails and places like that. And yeah, so that's a very beautiful, beautiful thing. God is very present in those moments.
I was going to say, Matt and I both are PKs. Preacher's kids.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, really? I'm sorry for your loss.
I know.
Yeah.
I went to Catholic school my whole life.
My kids should be right here being like the sufferers club.
Yes.
On this side, just
Oy
grilling at me.
vey.
Just grilling me.
So what are some upcoming events that you guys have going on that people can support, participate, maybe check you guys out?
So Passover. Yeah. So 2 Passover Seders. One is probably sold out by now.
Okay.
But the second night Seder at our home in Midlothian is probably got a couple of tickets left by now. Love to have you. Kids are half off.
Can anybody go?
Anyone can go. Yeah. Actually, I got an email from a seminary student at Virginia Union like an hour ago saying, like, would it be okay if I came? I'm like, of course.
So I was reading about Passover, and there's like
Yeah.
a tradition where you slap people with green onions. Is that a thing?
So yeah, so different communities, because this is part of the Jewish experience, right? Is that we went into the diaspora, went into expulsion in the year 70. There was a small Jewish presence in the land of Israel after that, but for the most part, we were other places. And so you had all of these different Jewish communities, plural, that developed, and they all sort of developed different customs, often because of the cultures that they were around. So like the question of like, what's your favorite Jewish food? Well, there is curry that is Jewish. There are lox and bagels, which is a particular Jewish culture. If you talk to Jews in Spain and you say, what's your favorite Jewish food? It's not going to be lox and bagels. It's going to be,
Paella.
well, no, not paella. Well, certain kinds of paella is fine. It's going to be lots of things that are
the shellfish.
Yeah, no shellfish, unfortunately, But yeah, or Brazil or anywhere else, you're going to have different types of cuisines. There's a Yemeni rabbi here in town who I've talked to her about this before. That we have in America we have a very myopic view of like what is Jewish food, right? And it's this sort of Eastern European and German stuff. But yeah, the swatting of people with the green onions. Shout out to our B'nai Mitzvah instructor, Edva Kashi, who taught me about that. I had no idea about that. And she grew up in this sort of mixed Jewish household with parents from different Jewish traditions. And she said, oh yeah, this was a thing we did. I was like, we're doing this. This is now the custom.
It's like you're reviving it somehow.
No, well, people do it.
People
This is like
do
a thing.
it.
Oh yeah. It's just not something. It goes back to like, if your family didn't do it or your synagogue didn't do it or your culture, your Jewish culture didn't do it, you don't know about it.
Yep.
So I was like, this is great. I want in. Yeah.
So how does the
just
tradition
randomly
go?
hit
You
people?
on Passover, you just come up to someone and just
I
slap
wish it
them?
was like that. Do you know?
You've been onioned.
I would.
God, if I was Jewish and I was mad at my husband,
I would have to do so much relationship counseling around Passover. So we have this song called Dayenu. It's one of the songs that we sing during the Passover Seder. And during the sort of chorus, Dayenu, 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 you smack people with green onions. Like, it's just, so
I bet the kids go
It
wild.
sounds like it's fun.
Yeah.
Well, our B'nai Mitzvah teacher Edva said to me that she was told, I guess, that it was one of two things or both. One was that it's just fun, even though the symbolism is Pharaoh's taskmasters beating people, right? Which is not fun, right? Not cool.
Kind of a dark reference there.
Yeah. Let's just take a moment. Okay, now we've done it. And then the other is just bored kids, like to give them something to do.
Yeah, I bet the kids love doing that.
Yeah, and little plastic frogs, like when we were all kids at like the arcades and stuff, and they had all the junky like plastic stuff that you get, like 5 tickets gets you a rubber band or whatever. Yeah, so you can buy these plastic frogs that you like touch their butts and they bounce. And frogs is one of the plagues in the 10 plagues.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah, so that's another.
That's what I was going to ask. It from the locusts. And
But there's some locust plastic
My favorite plague, having grown up in the South, is hail. Because when we do the Seder and we're reading the plagues, we do this quirky thing. We take our pinky finger, and I'm like instinctively doing it at your table right now. You put your finger in wine or grape juice, and you put a drop of blood, basically, on your plate. And you read each of the different plagues. So when we get to, blood, frogs, lice, right? And then you get to hail, I always go, oh, hell no. It's still not as funny to everyone else as it is to me. But.
No, it's funny to us. It's pretty funny. I gotta do that when we're watch when I was little, I loved the movie The Prince of Egypt.
Yeah.
It was such an amazing
I thought you were
movie.
going to say The Princess Bride for a second. I was like, how is this?
Yeah, that's an interesting movie.
I guess Max the Miracle Guy was probably
what other events do you have coming up?
So we're going to have Passover brunch, which is a thing that we invented. This is like an us thing. So
Yeah, I saw you serve mimosas.
yeah, so we do kosher for Passover mimosas. We do, in a nod to the number of millennials who are part of the community, we do avocado toast. But you can't eat toast on Passover because you can't eat bread, so we do it on matzah. And we do like learning, like Jewish learning and stuff like that. So that's something we have coming up. Lots of Shabbat, events coming up. We're just really heavily focused on promoting Passover right now. And then just any kind of life cycles. I'm super slammed with weddings. Wedding season's going to come up soon, and everybody's going to want to do that. And a lot of elopements this year, which has been interesting. Ooh. So it's more than just the community events. It's also the ways in which we can enrich people's lives.
And as you said before, I was reading, you'll do that for anyone, any denomination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
well, that's cool.
Yeah. So a quirky thing about Virginia, up until recently, you had to have a license in order to officiate weddings, and you still kind of do. So I'll have people who say, hey, my cousin is a stand-up comedian and wants to officiate our wedding, but he's not legal. Can you just help me with that? And so I will do basically a pop-up wedding ceremony for 2 people, and then they can go and have the ceremony of their dreams. So things like that too.
Awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
So in general, though, I'm going back to the dark stuff. Sorry.
That's fine.
How do you feel? What is the best way for those of us who are not Jewish to support the Jewish community and to fight this ridiculous, uneducated anti-Semitism that has been cropping up?
Gosh, if only I knew the answer to that.
Education, I guess.
Yeah,
Or even just doing this, having you on the podcast, surrounding you with love.
Well, I appreciate that. I think the biggest thing is to work. It's not even a Jewish thing. There's a really interesting writer named Barry Weiss, and she wrote a book about anti-Semitism. I want to say it was actually before October 7th, but I might be wrong about that, where she said that anti-Semitism is a good barometer for a civilization in decline. That generally speaking, historically, among different groups of people, women, LGBT people, Jews are one of those groups of people that get the first wave of whatever is going on. And so, I think that part of what helps with this is not so much looking at it just from a Jewish side,
Sure.
but looking at it from the perspective of political polarization. The fact that if you actually ask people what they believe about taxes and healthcare and whatever, actually most people in America generally meet in the middle on most things. It's social media that tells us that we hate each other.
Right. So true.
And so I would say, like, really focusing on that. Get involved. It doesn't sound like anything that helps Jewish people, but like, get involved at your school board, go to the zoning planning committees, do the boring stuff. Do the like really boring things that no one would ever go to, and just be a voice of reason.
Town hall meetings.
Go to the PTA, volunteer. Like, just volunteer with anything. And, I even tell congregants of mine, one of the best things we can do is take off from work for Jewish holidays. And the reason why is that then the Hindu person who shares a cubicle with you, they're going to feel comfortable taking off for their holiday. The Muslim colleague that you have is going to feel comfortable saying, hey, can we have more non-alcoholic options at the not Christmas party this year? Things like that. And it's just a wave of reason and being cool to each other that I think needs to happen.
I agree.
I totally
and not
agree.
being so reactionary or
Yeah.
trying not to be.
I just don't get it. I really just
I
don't
feel
get
it that
it.
most times.
I don't get the hate.
All right, I think we need to move on to our next segment.
Yes, but thank you. We are going to link everything, and feel free to jump in.
And then
on the
also,
rest of this stuff.
before we move on, how can we support you, like the Kehillah community? How can we follow you?
Yes,
Where can we
your-
find
your
your
handles?
links?
Sure.
Instagram, Facebook.
Sure. Best thing to do is go on our website, because that's where you're going to learn about Kehillah Cares, all of the social action work we do, subsidizing mental health.
We're gonna have to have you
grocery
come back on.
funds,
I was
all
gonna
of
say.
that stuff. We need support with that, because gosh, people are suffering. Like cost of eggs, like terrible.
Oh, yeah.
So
Only
all
gonna
of
get
that.
worse.
Bird flu.
If I was going to ask that you link to anything, link to that, because
Okay.
just people seeing that would be so meaningful. But so the name of the congregation is Kehillah. It's the Hebrew word for community. Kehillah RVA. You can just Google Rabbi Patrick. You'll find it.
Cool.
Yay. We will link everything. It's so great talking with you. You're going
Yeah.
to stick around, of course, but really appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's been great.
All right. It's time to drop it on us, Big Daddy.
All right, guys. And like I mentioned earlier in this episode, I'm going to be giving you the lowdown on pollen and seasonal allergies
My favorite.
in Richmond.
My eyes are crying.
Well, Richmond, also known as the Devil's Back Porch, Pollenville, the Kleenex capital, is one of the worst cities in America for seasonal allergies. So can you guess what it's ranked out of all the cities in the U.S.?
I'd say number one,
No, it's not.
Two.
No.
but it feels like it.
3.
No,
11.
it's good guesses.
11.
No, it's number 8.
Okay, that's pretty bad.
And so the first top 3 are Wichita, New Orleans, and Oklahoma City.
I'm kind of surprised at
Oklahoma.
Kansas. And Oklahoma.
Yeah, they must have a lot of trees there.
I know they have a lot of dust.
Dust?
The Dust Bowl?
I'm just kidding.
So what are seasonal allergies? Well, they're an overreaction of the immune system when it mistakes pollen as an invader for, like bacteria or viruses. And so the immune system will release histamine, which causes symptoms like sneezing, itching, runny nose, coughing. And symptoms of allergies can be mistaken for the common cold. And so why is Richmond ranked so highly?
Them trees.
The foliage.
Exactly. So Richmond has pollen-producing trees like oak, maple, and elm, and the yellow dust seen on cards is actually from pine trees.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so the oak pollen is actually so small it's invisible, and so you don't really see it on stuff.
Well, it's killing me.
And so
Every year.
what can you do to avoid pollen and relieve seasonal allergies? Well, number one, you could just become a recluse and stay indoors for the entire spring season. You could wrap your face in bandages like
Nat does.
the Invisible Man or the Mummy. And there's a whole list of things
Do
like
your Neomed sinus rinse, people.
that's right.
The neti pot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The pot doesn't work as well as the bottle.
Oh.
The neti pot.
ENT nurse.
antihistamines, eye drops. You can keep your windows closed.
Yeah.
You can wash your bed sheets.
You can raise your already high electric bill.
You can take a shower.
Exactly. You can take a shower. And so has anyone ever died from seasonal allergies?
Probably.
And the answer to that is yes, although it's rare. And so, for example, a recent case in 2017 involved a 16-year-old boy who, he was just playing in a park, playing football, and the allergy, the pollen was extremely high that day. And so he ended up having a devastating asthma attack, which caused his bronchial tubes to narrow, and he was eventually put on life support.
Oh my God, it's terrible. Matt's laughing.
Yeah. He's a real caring guy. I love you, baby.
And so are men or women more susceptible to seasonal allergies?
Men. Well, I would say men because they're non-compliant for their allergy medications.
Do you have any...
But women have more autoimmune.
Dudes, because we're dudes.
Well, research suggests that women are slightly more likely to report having seasonal allergies compared to men.
Wow.
And this can be attributed to hormonal fluctuations, particular estrogen and progesterone may play a role in the increased prevalence of allergies in women, as these hormones can influence the immune system. And so this is kind of an interesting thing I found. Are there any good uses for pollen?
Yes, you can. Isn't it? Well, no, that's honey.
Isn't it good for helping bees stay alive, though?
Or eating them to make you get used to the allergens in the area?
Also, the more trees, the more oxygen we have.
And that's true, yeah. Without trees, there'd
Science.
But I'm pretty sure I bought these pollen things that you eat, so you get used to the pollen, and then
if you do local honey, you can build up.
People eat it.
You can-
I think.
Yeah, I have.
No, that makes sense. It's like
So we should all go lick our cars.
Yeah,
it's like
snort it.
it's like if you get bitten by a snake, you can put small amounts of
Disclaimer:
venom.
we are not doctors
we're
here.
not. So anyway,
Don't sue us.
there is one good use for pollen. Pollen can be used for forensic science to link suspects or victims to specific locations. They can reconstruct crime scenes and even identify the origins of objects by analyzing the unique pollen and spores found on them. It can be used to determine the origin of illegal drugs, the location of a crime scene, or a victim's body.
Wow, I did not know that.
So, yeah.
You dropped it on us.
I ain't heard that on the ID channel before. Not the pollen.
All right, yeah, mic drop. That concludes Dropping on Big Daddy.
Boy.
Well, we have some upcoming events. If you can survive, because the two I'm in, one of them is outside, which is the Monument Avenue 10K.
I love that.
Once again, next Saturday at Broad and Harrison, it kicks off. That would be April 12th at 8:30 a.m. Sadly, if you've waited until now to sign up, you'd be slacking, and it will now be $75. But just think of how much you're helping sports backers.
And it's really fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun. Matt and I will be running it.
I will be maybe possibly walking and paying the $75. Maybe.
Yeah, you should. And then I know we're going to be talking about the amphitheater, but one more before we get there. The National, that same day, April 12th, they're having a pretty cool show. It is Municipal Waste. Ooh. On April 12th. And doors open at 6, show starts at 7, tickets are $38.50, and they have a full lineup of people, so check it out. Go to the National website if you want to learn more.
Me?
And you. Tell us more about the amphitheater.
Okay, so we've talked about the amphitheater before. It's called Allianz?
I think it's Alliance.
Alliance?
Yeah.
Okay. Alliance Amphitheater at
Who knows?
Riverfront.
This is Richmond. We're all going to pronounce it differently.
So if you don't remember...
but my way is right.
If you don't remember, the amphitheater opens this June, and this isn't just any old venue. It's a 7,500 capacity outdoor party zone that's bringing some serious headliners to town. And of course, we're going to tell you some of the biggest events that are going to be happening this summer. So grab your tickets. First, we have Dwight Yoakam. He's a really he's a cool 90s country singer that my dad loves. So that'll be cool if you're into country and like old school 90s country. Then Styx and REO Speedwagon will be there.
Wait, when is Dwight Yoakam? Because that's
That's
concert.
June 21st, Dwight Yoakam.
It's so crazy. Matt and I walked over there the other day, and it's not an amphitheater yet. So
You can still see
You got a month.
You can still see the steel supports.
You got 2 months, maybe.
Yeah.
Doing site work.
Oh, well, it'll be there. Anyway, Styx, August 6th. And Kevin Cronin from REO Speedwagon will be there. That will be cool to see. I'm a huge Styx fan. And REO Speedwagon.
I know, they're both good.
And then Allison Krauss. Sorry, I can never pronounce anything. And Union Station will be there August 29th. They're a bluegrass band, and I've never heard of her, I don't think.
Oh, she's a great country singer. You've heard her. She does, I mean, it's a remake, but When You Say Nothing at All. The smile on your face.
I've probably heard that. I think I'm ringing a bell. September 6th, Leon Bridges and Charlie Crockett. They are a one-part soulful crooner, one-part modern-day cowboy equals a tour that's almost too smooth to handle.
Wait, are they two people or one person split in half?
Both. If that makes sense. And then September 20th, we have Steve Martin, which will be funny.
He'll be playing his banjo.
Yeah, the Dukes of Funnytown and with Martin Short.
Fun.
So that'll be cool. And there's a lot more, but these are just the ones that stood out to me. So get
Liz
ready.
and Matt are seeing
James I see that. Liz and Matt are seeing James Taylor there. And I'm also seeing James Taylor in upstate New York with my mom.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's cool.
They're playing.
It'll be like we're at the same concert, yet miles
at the same time. No. But yeah, they're going to be there on September 7th.
Labor Day.
Yep. And Dave Matthews will also be there on July 15th and 16th. But the tickets are $1 million. So be warned.
I think they're all sold out. You have to, I mean, people went ape shit over these. Last I saw on StubHub, they were about $1,600.
Yeah.
And I mean,
That's not
if
one I'll
you're
be
from
going
Richmond,
to.
you better have already seen Dave Matthews. So forget about it. Anyway, moving on. I'm excited to check it out, though.
Me too. I really am. Hopefully it's built.
I know. Please. Do we get a refund? If not, about the business of the week now. I'm shouting out Boku. It's from the owners of Grisette and Jardin. It's been open for a while now, but it's a cocktail and oyster bar. They've been doing some really cool roasted oysters that I saw over the weekend. I love them. I know, sorry, you can't do the shellfish.
Yeah, I suck.
Damn it.
I thought you couldn't do shell. Oh, no, you don't like shrimp? Is that something?
Yeah, I was overexposed to iodine. But I will
she'll eat coconut shrimp.
There's a rap song. It's like, oh, I got iodine poison. It's sipping on some syrup by 3-6 Mafia.
That's my theme song.
Wow, 3-6 Mafia. Wow, dang.
Mafia.
That's my theme song. But you can have delicious baked goods. And they just opened Pettifor. They just opened at the corner of Main and Lombardy. So right next to Jardin. They have breads, pastries, coffee. Follow them on Instagram to get updates on changing hours. But as of right now, they just opened and they're kind of feeling stuff out. But on Saturdays, they're open 9 a.m. to sell out right now. So that's all I got. Damn it. Shout out.
Scissor.
That's right.
Shout out to the Allianz Amphitheater. Allianz.
I was saying Alliance. Like Alliance.
Yeah, Alliance.
Why'd they name it
Just a
that?
Z.
I want to know why they named it that.
Isn't that like an insurance company that
Yeah,
probably
I
helped
think
pay
so,
for it?
yeah.
Okay, that's why.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the amazing artists that will be there this summer.
Yes, Maddie.
So my first shout out goes to Miscellaneous.
Oh, yeah.
Because
We
we
keep
saw
running into her
her
everywhere.
on the Capitol Trail and she just went to Millie's. And she said it was delicious.
And we had just seen her at the Hilltopper 5K. the
Yes, we
weekend
did.
before.
And then the weekend before that, we saw her at that Mexican
Oh
restaurant.
my
we
God,
liked.
you're right. Fuego y
Fuego.
Salsa,
Yeah.
our favorite Mexican spot.
So my next shout out goes to Game Plan Sports Bar. It's the owners of the Cocky Rooster. They're going to open a sports bar in Midlothian, close to the intersection of Midlothian Turnpike and Woolridge Road.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, that's not too far from me.
Yep. And so another shout out, Sassy's. It's a new brunch spot that'll
They're
be
sassy.
opening in the former Butterbean Market building in Manchester on Hull Street, across from the former Dogtown Brewing Company. It's a spinoff of a restaurant called the Sassy Biscuit, which specializes in biscuits, waffles, and pancakes.
Yum.
Stuff I can't eat. Yay.
Rabbi Patrick, any shout outs?
Yeah, shout out to Sidecar Tavern.
Ooh, yeah, we
love it
that
there.
place.
Yeah, I love that place. They do happy hour at 4 o'clock. So if you're into tiki drinks and you live south side, that's great.
We should meet up there sometime.
Yeah, that'd be fun. And then for the north of the river people, shout out to Kava Club. We just did an event there not too long ago, and they're wonderful people. So if you're sober curious, that's a good place
We've
to go.
been talking about it on the podcast, actually. We got to go check it out.
I am a little sober curious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So one question we never answered is, what is your favorite nightclub?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The Milestone in Charlotte, North Carolina.
You love
Okay.
North Carolina. Oh, wait, no, that's South Carolina that you like.
Yeah.
So it's in this like kind of industrial area. It's just like among a bunch of warehouses. It's a very old punk club from the 80s. And if you go there, you know, bands will put like stickers and stuff on the walls,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
If you look to, so I guess it would be stage left, you can see where REM like tagged REM.
Wow, that's so cool.
And if you look around, you might find a few band stickers from my misspent youth when I did that stuff.
Nice.
Wow.
I
That's
know.
pretty neat.
We're going to have to get you back on for some punk
Because I
stories.
had so many punk rock questions to ask you, but that's for another episode.
We digress.
Look forward to it.
And also, shout out to all the RVA Jewish establishments around here. Jufro. You mentioned
Pearlie's.
Sally's?
No,
Susie's.
Susie's.
Susie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All my peeps at the Jewish Community Center. Sarah Rosenbaum, love you, missed you this year at the Irish Festival. I think she always takes teenagers to Israel every year.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if she was doing that then, but anyway. I'm going to shout out our friends at 211. They are doing a really cool thing where they're focusing on the Beatles more, and so they're calling themselves, for the meantime, Band on the Run. And they're going to be playing on Friday, April 25th at Hardywood West Creek at 6 p.m. So check it out. It should be fun, like Beatles music.
Oh,
Shout out
also,
to Andy and Kevin.
fun fact, I learned how to do the Soulja Boy at a bat mitzvah, or a bar mitzvah.
Oh, nice.
And then at a bar mitzvah, same family. My mom's really good friends with this family, and me, I guess, but it's been a long time. The bar mitzvah that I went to, or the bat mitzvah, I ate sushi there.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. It was
that's the
pretty
thing.
bougie.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They've really upped the catering quality at bar and bat mitzvahs.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a bit of an arms race. Yeah.
I was going to say, I think I went to one at the Jewish Community Center, and it was like rainbow
Yeah.
cookies. And
Yeah, I mean,
that was
you
in
know.
1996. So.
Yeah, if it was in the before times, yeah.
I went to one bar mitzvah. There was no sushi. So
When was that?
it was in the 90s.
Yes, yeah. No, this is past 2010. That's when
Yeah.
suddenly it's like
This was before 2010. This was
Really?
2000 when Soulja Boy came out. I think it was 2005, 2006.
okay. And where was this?
Kentucky,
Whoa,
That's very
We're in
random.
Kentucky.
Louisville.
There's
just out of
Jews in
Louisville.
Kentucky.
There are. I've been to. I have spoken at a synagogue in Louisville.
Yep.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Amshins if they're listening.
The Amshins. Nice.
thank you again,
Yeah.
Rabbi
Sure.
Patrick.
So really awesome. So much fun to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
I know.
We're gonna
What about-
party after this.
All right, so do we have a sneak peek for the next episode? Our guest?
So, yes, we are going to have on a Midlothian moms group, which, funny story, my best friend, Amy, my whole life, y'all have all heard about her. Yes. She was a member of this group right after she had my goddaughter, Caitlin, which would be almost 21 years ago. So I met a lot of the people in the group, and then randomly years later, this past Christmas, we were at the it's out near where you live, Latitudes, the new one.
Yeah.
And this woman was talking, and it turns out she kind of resurrected the group. So the Midlothian moms, 2 of them are coming on and talking about what they're doing with the mamas over in Midlo. So
They've
we'll
come
learn
to our
about that.
events.
Yeah. Oh, okay,
cool.
cool.
Yeah, some of the
Oh,
moms
wow.
from there have you.
Yeah.
All right.
So fun. Should be interesting.
All right, y'all. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook and all the things. Give us a like, share it. And if you don't like something, let us know. If you want to be on the podcast, let us know.
Or if you want to be a sponsor of the podcast,
We're looking for that.
we are
Yeah.
looking for sponsors.
We are
so
accepting.
Please reach out.
We'll barter.
Yeah, service for
We're willing.
service. Or money.
I'm trying to bring that back. I'm like bartering. Let's get rid of money, please.
All right. I love you,
Small
everybody.
scale.
We love
All right.
you.
See y'all next
All right,
time.
adios.
Bye.
Ciao.